Good morning. We're here today to discuss the impacts of Hurricane Irma to Orange County. With us today is Vice Mayor Siplin, Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Bonilla, Chief Deputy Sheriff Larry Zegg, Fire Chief Droz, Public Safety Director George Rawls. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Orange County Mayor Teresa Jacobs. Mayor?
Good morning. It's been now more than 24 hours since Hurricane Irma impacted Central Florida. Orange County EOC remains at a level 1 so that we can move to recovery phase of operations and to help our community and citizens return to normal day-to-day activities as quickly as possible. Personnel here at Orange County have been working around the clock as responders, utilities, public works partners, and law enforcement has all been on call 24/7. Yesterday, I saw firsthand the extensive flooding in the Orla Vista community, as did Vice Mayor Siplin. Orange County Fire Rescue and the National Guardsmen helped to rescue more than 135 individuals and their animals from that community. Many, and I think all of our district commissioners have been out in their districts surveying and touching base with their constituents, not only to gauge what is happening in terms of power lines and in terms of water and storm damage, but also I think just to gauge the overall the spirit of our citizens. Some individuals have chosen to stay behind in the Orla Vista community, and we are making a second round today. We are seeing the water come down. That's good news, but we do want to make sure that if there are any individuals that are in their homes that want to be sheltered, that we make arrangements for them. Power. Similar to our neighbors across the state, Orange County continues to experience very significant power outages. Reports this morning suggest that more than 300,000 households remain without power. I count myself as one of them. So for all of you who are growing tired of the heat and the inconvenience, I sympathize and understand what you're going through. And I can tell you from the conversations we've had with our utility providers, they are working very hard to try to restore power. They are prioritizing traffic signals, and our emergency facilities are the most important priorities, but they are working to restore power to all of our homes and businesses. We monitor nearly 800 traffic signals in Orange County. Unfortunately, with the power out at many of our traffic signals, those intersections still remain dangerous, and we encourage our citizens to use extreme caution. The Sheriff's Department and the Florida Highway Patrol are manning many of those intersections. If you come to an intersection that does not have a stop sign, I'm going to caution our citizens again. We need you to treat that like a four-way stop. That means everybody in all directions stops at least once, and then you navigate it just like there were 4 stop signs. I cannot underscore the importance of that. Public Works debris assistance. This is going to be a primary concern to many of our residents throughout Orange County. In terms of debris removal and cleanup, by noon today, 5 citizen sites will open. Those are drop-off sites. We will have those posted on the internet at ocfl.net, and we'll make them available to our media partners as well. Tomorrow, we will open 5 more. And again, please check with ocfl.net if you have access to the internet. If you have access to a phone, call 311 to get the locations of those sites if you want to move a little quicker to remove the debris from your homes. If you live in one of our cities, please check with them on how their debris pickup plan will work. Many of our cities do their own thing when it comes to yard waste and debris removal. Curbside debris pickup assistance will begin before noon on Thursday morning. So please check the ocfl.net website for more information. And when I say that will begin, I don't mean that everyone will see that. We will be on a rotating schedule. We intend to make one pass to every home, to every street, and then circle back around. So the exact time and day that pickup will take place has yet to be determined. We hope to put out a general idea of the plan for that so that citizens will have a little better idea. But if you have a lot of debris, go ahead and put it out by your curbside at this time, and we will pick it up when we can. The landfill is open, and we're opened with regular hours. Let me talk for a moment about garbage. Garbage service is beginning today. This will be for our regular garbage. This is not storm debris. This is not your yard waste. We will pick up our regular yard waste as well, but remember, yard waste is that waste that can fit in the container you already have. If you have some debris left over from the storm and you can fit it in that container, we will pick it up as part of yard waste. If you have more storm debris, then you can fit into that container. We'll pick it up when we pick up debris. And as far as the schedule, you all will remember that we've had to push back our daily garbage service by 1 day because of the hurricane. So if you were on Monday pickup, you're going to be on Tuesday, and you can figure the rest from there. Utilities and water. We are still asking residents to conserve their use of water. The storm has placed a considerable strain on our pump stations throughout the county, and many of our pump stations are operating with generators that we're having to rotate around. So what does this mean to you? It means if you don't need to flush your toilet, wait to flush it. I know that's a little uncomfortable. There was a movie that once, that's probably not appropriate to share. If it's brown, flush it down. If it's, and that's as far as I'm going to go. That probably has to get edited out, but just use good discretion. If you can afford to let a few people use the toilet before you flush, that will help all of us. What we don't want to see is any backups from waste. Please refrain from running washing machines that you don't need to. Make sure that they're full and not running partial loads. Dishwashers, if you can wash dishes by hand and use less water, look for every opportunity, and long showers. Okay, I don't know about anybody else, but there's nothing I would love more, probably could use more than a long shower, but please refrain from long showers until we're back to being fully functional with power. Building safety. Orange County has dispatched 12 damage assessment teams in the field yesterday, and we are back out today. Their focus is on safety and habitability. Yes. For instance, in Orla Vista, when we went out there and saw that there were homes that had water standing in their homes, that's not a safe situation. When we find that we have water flooding so severely on roads that people that live in high and dry houses can't get out of their neighborhoods in the event of emergency, that's a serious situation. If you're in any of those situations and we haven't reached out to you, please call 311 so that we can get to you and give you the opportunity of being evacuated to safe shelter. Roadway and transportation, based on the 311 calls and inspections, we believe that all roadways in Orange County are passable. Now, by passable, I don't mean you won't see some limbs down or you won't be driving over a little brush, but that you can safely pass it in a regular vehicle. If you live near a road, if you have seen a road today that is not passable, please call 311 so that we can get our teams out there. That is a top priority for us to make sure that all of our roads are passable. That's important for your convenience, but it's also important for everyone's public safety. Public safety reminders. We've been out of power now for a few days. I want to remind you to be very careful with food that you use. If it's in the refrigerator, be very careful, because if your refrigerator has been down, and I'm going to have Mr. Plummer speak to this, there's a pretty good chance that everything in your refrigerator is not safe for consumption. I'm going to allow him to speak to that. Tip, toss, and cover. If anybody remembers this, last year we spent a lot of time talking about mosquito-borne illnesses. Mosquitoes do cause diseases that are of concern to us. We have not seen mosquitoes lately. They've all been blown away by this storm. That's good news. But the bad news is we have a tremendous amount of standing water throughout the county. Some areas more heavily concerned with that than others. I know from a conversation with Commissioner Bonilla that there is a tremendous amount of standing water in East Orange County, a low-lying area. Standing water breeds mosquitoes. These mosquitoes will come back. We need everybody to be very careful if you have standing water in and around your homes, that you tip, toss, and cover any containers that can hold standing water, and be on the lookout for mosquitoes. Think of it just like we did last year. Use mosquito repellent if you have mosquitoes near you. Just be mindful that mosquitoes always present a threat, and we expect a resurgence of mosquitoes. Disaster assistance and consumer fraud. One of our main goals is to help residents recognize fraud, and to teach them how to avoid becoming a victim. A valid license is the first indication that your contract might be qualified to do the job. According to Orange County Consumer Fraud Office, you should do the following when hiring a contractor. Avoid door-to-door solicitors. I hate that I have to say this, but we find this in every emergency, that some people, unfortunately, have somebody come to their door, they feel like they need help, and they end up being taken advantage of. So please make sure that you check out that they are a valid contractor. Insist on references, a proper license, bonding, and insurance, and check their credentials. Make sure the contract can be broken if you don't receive financing. Hire a contractor with a real office, not just a post office box address. For more information on county consumer fraud, please contact or call 407-836-2490 or 311, or email fraudhelp@sao9.org. That's fraudhelp, no spaces, at sao9.org. And again, that's 407-836-2490. Now I'm going to call on Deputy Sheriff Larry Zweig to talk about law enforcement and keeping the public safe.
Good morning. Sheriff's operations are getting back to normal. Our civilian staff are back on duty. Substations and operations is open for any services you might need. And just want to reinforce what the mayor had said. We have several intersections with the lights out. Treat those as four-way stops, and just be very careful. We're manning several of the intersections that are out, and hopefully when those go up, we won't have as many of those. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Plummer, if I can call you up to give just a little bit more safety information. Thank you.
Good morning. As Mayor mentioned earlier, of course, power outages will cause several concerns, one of which is for refrigerated food and freezers, it will spoil because it's closed in. So please try to keep from going in and out of the refrigerator as often as possible. If you can maintain the temperatures in it, it will last somewhat a small, short time. But once it starts to spoil, when your power comes back on, is a good time to then take a look at your foods. Based on the time that it's been in there, you probably start to either smell, you can see a discoloration in the sight of your foods, but it's always best not to consume that food because it causes food poisoning. So you would have to discard it. Properly discard it, put it in trash bags, tie them up, and then put them in with your normal waste. Other safety procedures as we get out, again, yesterday we mentioned power tools out in the yard with different type of these power tools, your power saws, cutting. Make sure you use these tools properly. Again, most of the times we have more injuries or possible deaths after or during the recovery of a major storm. So we want everyone to maintain safety. Information about debris pickup, piling the right trashes with the right different categories, wood, trash in one area, furnitures in one, and then to keep them apart in your regular trash. Again, we want everyone to stay safe. We don't want any major injuries or any injuries at all. And if you have any information or if you need information from us, call 311. Information will be sent to the Emergency Operations Center, and the appropriate agency will respond. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to call in just a minute on our fire chief, Otto Drodes. I have been so proud of the great work that firefighters have done. You know, this is a time when our firefighters go above and beyond. They're not just doing what you normally expect, but they're here to help in every way that they can. Fire Chief Otto Drodes.
Good morning. Fire Rescue is out assessing areas once again. So if there's anybody out there that has issues with leaking roofs, we're more than happy to go out and apply the blue tarps. Just call 311. We're in the hardest hit areas, but if we're not in your area, please dial 311. We're more than happy to bring those out so that you can keep the interior of your home safe. If there Certainly, if there's an emergency, dial 911. The call volume has gone down significantly. While we were at 200% of normal capacity, we're back down to normal operating procedures as far as emergency calls. So that's a sign that overall, the county continues its course towards recovery. It'll still take some time, so be patient, be safe, and if you need us, please call.
Okay, and I'm going to ask our Public Safety Director, Dr. Rawls, or Mr. Plummer, to speak to the issue of how our shelters are doing. I think we're down to a total of 3 shelters. Which one of you wants to address that? I think we were just checking on the status of those shelters.
All right, so what we're doing with sheltering, our main priority right now is to ensure that everyone can get back in their home safely. So last evening, after the curfew was listed, individuals left shelters. We had a total of 18 shelters open, and they went back to check their residents. For those who were not able to stay in their homes for whatever reason, they may have went to family or other friends and made other arrangements, but there were a few that returned to the shelters. We did have travelers that were coming through. They have been sent back to their to the areas where they were traveling out of, the airport or bus stations, and they're already en route to their destinations. Currently, we had 3 shelters, 2 PSNs that had individuals in it. What we do with PSNs is people with special needs. We go out and we do a survey at their home to make sure it's safe for them to return for whatever their medical need, whether it's power or some other necessity, and then they will be taken to their resident if they can return there. If not, we're bringing them to Barnett Park this afternoon to kind of consolidate and to move out of the schools. Primarily, schools are used as shelters for high risk and high winds because of their buildings and the type of funding that went toward making sure they're safe. So that's why we use them. But they are used also primarily for schools, and we need to get the kids back in school. And we have to let Orange County Public Schools do their assessment, get those facilities ready to receive schools when they decide they're going to be able to open the schools. So our primary plan now is to start bringing our PSNs who cannot return to their home because it's not safe yet to Barnett Park. And then the other school we have open is Meadowwoods. That was a consolidated effort from all of the other schools. If individuals could not get back in their homes, then they can they came to Meadowwoods, and now we're in the process of finding more temporary sheltering for them. So, Mayor?
All right, thank you. All right, finally, our local businesses have been closed now for several days. I saw them reopening last night, and frankly, all of us descending upon them. We really appreciate the local business community. We value them for supporting us. I'm impressed with how quickly today they are all, gearing up and ready to serve the public. I appreciate the public's patience during this. I know it's been a trying time, but I've been extremely impressed with the way our citizens have responded. Everything that I have seen reflects so positively on the good spirit of our citizens. So thank you. Stay safe for the next couple of days. We keep saying this. This is the more dangerous time than what we've been through. God bless. Any questions?
Mayor, I'd like to know more about the Orlo Vista neighborhood. Do we have a sense of how many homes people are going to continue to be kept out of, and a more specific plan for those people?
Well, we have some good news in that we've seen the water receding quite a bit. I'm very encouraged with that. In terms of how quickly those who have water damage to their home can return, we're still assessing that. We do anticipate that we're going to need to provide shelter for an extended period of time for those families and individuals, and we're looking at exactly where we provide that. We are tentatively have a plan, but we'll be working on getting that out to the public when we have a little bit more information. But that's, to my knowledge, that's really the greatest need that we have is that community.
Are getting any better sense of why you have so many problems there compared to other parts of the county?
You know, we always have problems in that area. Love to have a stormwater expert here to speak to that. But we know that we have a very large basin, and by basin I mean a lot of area that drains into that pond. But many of the homes in that area were built before we had the more rigorous requirements for stormwater retention. So in older neighborhoods that don't have stormwater ponds already placed in, all the water drains into the natural basin, in this case, that pond. And so we believe it's just, you know, it's a natural function of the amount of the water we had and the fact that all of it's draining to that one area. It does seem to be exiting the pond according to the schedule that it should be following. We've literally contacted the water management districts down the line to make sure that the Shingle Creek is flowing the way it's supposed to flow, and the fact that it's dropped considerably. And I believe the report I got this morning is that there is no more water in the homes. And so it is falling. We have most of the roads except for, what's the name of the road? Ronnie Circle. The interior one is the only road right now that's not passable. So we have improvements coming. Question is, when can people safely return to their homes, and what do we need to do to assist them? And we'll be assessing that, as well as helping them make the connections that we need to make with FEMA to assist them financially.
And I heard correctly, right, that in the days leading up to it, you were trying to drain out that area?
Absolutely, absolutely. Everywhere that we know that we have tend to have flooding problems, and this was one of them, we were already draining, trying to get the water levels down, you know, to create more capacity. Just like those people who have pools were draining their pools to create more capacity so you didn't have flooding. This was our big pool. And probably one of the most obvious and pressing areas. And I got to say, for the folks that were in charge of that, they did what they needed to do. They did their best. They pumped as early as they knew this storm was coming our way. But our employees here in Orange County take their jobs really, really seriously. They understand the impact, and they take it personally, just like I take it personally. If somebody is injured or dies in a storm that I could have prevented, I take that personally, and I am so proud of the employees we have in Orange County and the way they take it personally. So in the midst of tragedy, you do find out what you're made of, what the community is made of, what these employees are made of, and I can tell you these guys are made of good stuff. So thank you for your question.
Quick question about the people there in Orla Vista, and then also other people who still need shelter. Are they going to be all at Barnett Park, or is it going to be the two others as well?
We have, you want to talk about permanent shelter plans? And we have still issues with power in different areas, and so clearly one of our goals is to put them someplace where we have power and not reliant on generators. So you want to speak to what areas that we have available?
Right, so again, Barnett Park is going to be the consolidated area for Orange County, and that's still temporary. After that, Red Cross is in the process of setting up, looking at a more temporary, long-term sheltering. That's a national mission that they have. So in our area, we're trying to do the best to take care of our short-term. So today, that's what our plan is. If we can get all our PSN, people with special needs, back to their homes, then we won't need any further assistance with them. For the individuals who were involved or displaced because of the flooding, many of them have already gone with family and friends, and we are looking at some other more long-time, permanent, temporary housing for them until we can get them back in their homes. Once it floods and several days set in, of course, the mill, and you saw a mildew. You saw the situations in Houston. We may face something similar here. So once they get an opportunity to get in their homes, get them restored, then they can get back in them. But we're going to help them along the way.
And we know yesterday there was some shelters that lost power, some shelters didn't have generators. Did you learn any lessons from what happened this time around about that issue?
Well, the thing with the shelters is they are, well, again, we use schools, and the schools have backup shelters. People with special needs, they have generators because of the need, and the generator is supposed to support the need of the people who has the special needs. For regular schools that we use as shelters, they have a backup, but it's for their food, and it's the security and the emergency lighting. So just because they lost power and the generators kicked on, don't mean they were out with power. The whole area, it's going to be affected by the utility companies when the power goes out, how they affect it. So that's the primary situation that we were facing. So we moved those individuals out of schools. We got them into Barnett Park. The power is on at Barnett Park, and that's why we were choosing Barnett Park to bring them to, because power has been restored.
Do you know how many people are currently in the shelters right now?
Well, the numbers are changing. Last night we had over 300 and something in the 3 shelters. So this morning, that's where we started. We had 90 travelers. They were all sent out. And I'm not up to date on the number of PSNs, but their primary goal is to have individuals go home, but they're checking homes. If they're not able to go there, they're going to move into Barnett, and that was to start at noon today. And that transition to allow the schools to get their schools back and get them ready for whenever they decide to open.
So is Barnett the only one that's going to be opened into the night?
Yes, if it'll be maintained until Red Cross. Well, Red Cross doesn't take care of people's special needs. Our county does. So we're going to maintain it until all their needs are met.
But the Orlo Vista people may be going there too, to Barnett Park.
Orla Vista people, understanding there was one person, and again, we're making arrangements for a more long-term, temporary situation for those individuals. Many of the other ones have already gone with family and friends in the area.
Mayor, are there parts of the county that are more affected by power outages than other parts of the county?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been asking OUC and Duke. They've been giving us the total number of counts, but what I could not get is percentages. We know that yesterday we were out of power about 60% across the county, and we were trying to determine if there, as you pointed, are there areas that are affected proportionally more. We know Northwest Orange County was heavily affected by power outages, but I haven't been able to get a clear read from Duke and OUC collectively this morning to see what are the percentages by geographic areas. As soon as we have that, we'll be pleased to put that out. It's helpful, I think. It's helpful for us to know. It's helpful for the energy companies to know as well.
Also, have you had conversations with the schools about when they would hope to be able to get
When they would be hoping to reopen, yeah, they still haven't made a decision whether or not, exactly what day, whether that's tomorrow or Thursday, they haven't made a decision, so we'll wait to hear from them. We are acting as if they're opening tomorrow, and that's the reason for the need to move people that need additional sheltering, like those who are dependent upon electricity for life-saving devices. That's why we're moving them, so that we give the school district the option of making that call without the shelters impeding their
obviously they may be affected by outages as well. Do
Yeah.
they have backup generators?
They do have backup generators. The backup generators are not, in many cases, and we should probably direct this to the school. I can speak for the shelters. The shelters that the schools, in the schools that we have, are not equipped to handle full power. So they're providing a minimum amount of light and the basic necessities to most of us who live here in Central Florida. I would say air conditioning has become for many of us a basic necessity, and those generators are not providing, in most cases, electricity that will generate, run an air conditioner. So I would think that would be an impediment opening a school as far as children go, but those are questions to ask the school district where they're at. All right, and I do know that that's a top priority for the for our energy providers. They're looking at certain facilities as more necessary, and then the rest of us in our homes are also being cared for, but and attended to, but not as fast as traffic signals in hospitals and schools. Thanks. Okay, I think we're good.
I think we're good. Thank you so much for your time today. This concludes our briefing.